Hello everybody and welcome to the tavern. This week we're going to be talking about our favorite or least favorite encounters, yeah, so
specifically enemies.
Specifically enemies to fight, or types of enemies.
Queensbury rules.
Yeah, this was your idea.
It
so
was.
you lead it off.
It's just because I have strong feelings about, I think we discussed it a little bit, when you are suddenly surrounded by a horde of a bunch of... You doing alright, buddy?
Yeah, I'm just going to move the recorder. Keep talking.
When you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies that are like all 1 HP enemies, where all you have to do is hit them and then they're down, when that feels like it's used as like a big filler,
yeah,
the water turned on and so you're like, ooh, everything's going wrong. Welcome to the tavern.
So many sounds.
Okay. So many things are happening. But yeah, that's one of my lesser favorite. I think I've mentioned it before when we talk about like the beginnings of campaigns. If it starts in a tournament,
a million of boring
and it's
low-level
just
enemies.
A million little minions that you have to blast through, and then you waste all your like spell slots and things on them so you can get to the final boss. And then it's like, well, now what do I do? Like, when that goes on for way too long, I hate those encounters with a passion. I don't like the 1 HP enemies.
Because then you figure out who can hit and who can't, and you hate those who can't.
Yeah.
That is true. Although I don't mind when it's sort of a thing where there is one like main guy and there's a bunch of little minions. But
right.
if you kill the main guy first, and then like the minions are like, oh shit, and then they run away, or they're like summons for the main guy, and then they just disappear if you defeat him. I feel like that creates more of a challenge when in an encounter, because they're distracting your focus when you really want to, like, you know you need to kill this guy, but it's literally just a bunch of zombies. You're just like, I would rather run away, honestly.
Or just
so those are my strong feelings that I wanted to rant about.
Yeah.
Any of you guys have strong feelings about any enemies or encounters? Or any stories?
I mean, I definitely don't like the just waves and waves of low-level enemies, unless we are right at the beginning, and and that's level appropriate to be fighting them.
True.
But it's like when you've been playing for a while and you've worked your way up and you're a few levels in and you have good equipment and it's just like you're sleeping at night and there's just, oh no, there's a bunch of zombies, or you're now being attacked by a bunch of orc, slingers, and they're just shooting rocks at you.
Yeah, there are 40 kobolds,
like,
go for it.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate them all.
Literally the ones where all you have to do is hit them and they're dead. You don't even have to roll for damage. That's definitely annoying.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about how I hate 1 HP minions.
Right. I really dislike the ones where the enemy is one that you are purposely not going to be able to defeat.
Oh yeah, like they have no plans for you at all to like succeed.
Yeah, like the DM
and
is
even
like,
if it
you're
seems
not going
like
to
you're
beat
succeeding,
this.
you're like, no.
Yeah, because then it's like, okay,
annoying.
we're not going to beat them. Someone on our team might die. We're using all of our dailies. We're using all of our
It's
healing
just wasted
surges.
effort.
Yeah.
Wasted time.
Yeah, and especially since encounters take up a long chunk of the session anyway, so an encounter that's not going to lead, it's not going to end in defeating the enemy.
You're not going to get anything from this, basically.
Right, then it's just like, this is a waste of our precious time. Like, it took us months to all get in the same room, and we have to do this.
I want to feel like I accomplished something with every session, whether we defeated enemies or had to run away or something. I always want, even as a DM, I want my players to feel like they accomplished something, during a small session of a campaign. And that's what I want as a player more than anything. Even if it's like, I accomplished learning more about this backstory of one of my party characters. I don't know. I just want there to be, something learned. A moral of the story, like a back-to-school special with Dungeons and Dragons.
Definitely.
How about you, Matt? Any strong feelings?
My strong feelings for encounters usually comes more from the player side than the enemy side, because the enemies, I do kind of hate the 1 HP, because they are pointless. They're they're free XP, basically.
True.
So I'm like, okay, cool. If I kill 4 of these, I might level up. That'd be cool.
Bam, bam, bam.
But I dislike the part of encounters where it's, like I said, heavily reliant on you actually doing well on things that you should be good at, but some days you're just not.
sometimes the dice are against you.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I could totally destroy this guy, but I keep rolling 2s and 3s, and
I know.
Yeah, that's
oh
the
my
part
gosh.
I-
I think everyone's had those like sessions where
Yeah.
you're just like, I can't do anything
action point,
today.
and then you just miss again, and you're like,
I think,
oh,
I think
no.
I've had one session where I rolled 5 nat 1s in a row during
You
combat.
definitely did. Yeah.
I'm just like, well, I just nearly murdered that party member, and me, and that person who I was trying to murder, but I hit the person next to them.
I had an encounter that was really fun with a group of mine from when I was doing theater, and it was like me and everyone in like the play all got together and started playing Dungeons and Dragons together. It was really fun. And so we had our DM, and we were like literally facing against like the Grim Reaper. We were facing against death. We were in this Denny's. We were all just yelling at each other, being huge nerds, eating pancakes. It was great.
Okay, so you were in the Denny's, not your characters were in
My
the
characters
Denny's.
were in a
You're
Denny's.
fighting the Grim
Grim
Reaper.
Reaper was
at
in Denny's. Beware.
In the parking lot of a Denny's.
Exactly. But it was one of those days where I just kept rolling 1s, like 1, 2, 3, and I was getting so frustrated. And then at one point I was like, since I'm like not able to do anything, I might as well like be a bit of comic relief, kind of. And so I'm like, alright, I am clearly attacks are not working. I cannot hit death. So I'm gonna roll to intimidate, and I roll nat 20. And they're like, death is now afraid of you. That was one of my favorite encounter, like, boss battles.
It's like me with the
Because I
Kraken.
still, exactly. I still couldn't hit him, but, like, he was afraid. And it, like, lowered some of his stats, I think. I don't know, it was very funny.
Yeah, but I think probably the most frustrating encounter I've ever had was one I designed, but I didn't anticipate it going so poorly. So it was like one of the few times I've actually DM'd something, and they were fighting. So made sure everyone was leveled up to what, 20 or was it 30?
You started us really high.
Yeah, I started you guys really high, and I started you guys with monsters who were like 5 levels below you.
It's got to be 20 because the builder we had only goes through 21, I think.
Yeah, so it must have been 20. And then I started the enemies off at like 17 or 18, but these were like apparently mini boss monsters that I chose for some reason.
Yeah, just because their number is lower than our number does not automatically mean that they are level appropriate.
Exactly. Like I only gave them 2 to fight, but the fight took an hour and a half.
Yeah, and we were all near death and completely exhausted with no powers remaining, and that was
No,
just
you used up all your powers. You were not near death. They never hit you.
well.
Okay, except for one.
Oh, that's true because your rolls were pretty bad too.
No, my rolls were fine. Like I was hitting like 15, 16s, and you guys still couldn't get hit, and you guys couldn't hit me with anything less than like a 19.
Yeah.
So it's just like this battle, but no one's hitting anybody. They're just swinging.
Pretty much.
Swing and miss the battle.
So that was just incredibly frustrating on both the DM and the player's side. And
Is
we,
that when Thomas was the bullywog?
yeah, the Bullywog Monk.
Yeah.
It was a one-off session. It started off great, and then that just ruined it, unfortunately.
Do you have any favorite like monsters that you've or like favorite stories of monsters? Like I told my Grim Reaper story. Do you guys have any like moments that stood out?
An all-time favorite is still just our final battle against Kosh.
Yeah, the dragon.
You know,
The actual dragon we faced.
in the world that Travis had designed. Yeah, the enemy turns into this black dragon.
We spent like
Nice.
a year in this campaign, like getting ready to defeat Kosh.
Literally
the
just
final showdown.
Assembling gear and powers and
I was
things.
so hyped.
So, and then getting through that and actually defeating him and completing the campaign.
Right.
Definitely a D&D highlight.
Yeah.
And the fact that we had to work hard, but we were able to defeat him.
Yeah,
You
it was
know, like
great.
it was pretty well balanced. Like it wasn't too easy, but it wasn't like an impossible task because we had spent the time preparing.
Exactly.
And
There was like one part where it seemed impossible. We just like came back
then
after we
we
worked
found a
so hard.
loophole.
And yeah, that's when we found our loophole with our powers, and we're like, oh yes.
We found a loophole that allowed us to reuse what was supposed to be a one-time use ability, and that's what allowed us to defeat him.
So
Nice.
we used it more than once, and we were able to defeat him because we used everything that we had on. Like it was like in a
Round
video
one.
game when it's like their first form, but then they have a second form,
And you're just like, what?
and we're like, oh no.
We have nothing
But we found a
left.
way, and then we were just so proud, and that was really great. Do you have any favorites?
Some of my favorite battles are actually not against enemies per se. Like my favorite encounter I think I've ever played against was one of my first sessions where I think it actually might have been my first session playing D&D, where I set fire to like 5 or 6 boats while we were escaping an island.
Nah.
So, as a druid, because druids do fire apparently,
His
Yeah,
fire
some
seed
of them
ability.
fire seed. I just throw seeds of fire, and then everything catches on fire because I roll
What
well
did the
enough.
boats do to you?
They were chasing us because it was like a.
Oh, okay.
I opened
It's like-
I opened the campaign with a naval battle.
Okay, I thought you were just like done.
Goodbye, trade.
And so-
I hate this.
Yeah, the Empire and the Rebellion faction were fighting each other, and they were supposed to just simply be getting out of there. And Matt, just as standing on deck as we went through, he
The
just
blockade. Just
yeah.
like, boo, boo, boo.
He was
That's
able to.
so good.
He was able to hit the sails, and so they just spread
They
from
just
mast to mast. And but it did also burn some of the ships on your side.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't.
They-
We weren't. You guys weren't really aligned with a faction.
No.
Yet, but like the side that I was going to eventually have them align with, they all kind of burned.
Never knew that, but that's a good part.
Yeah.
Um,
But
That makes something for you to work with as a DM, though.
that's
Yeah.
why. That's why that's why my NPC washed up on shore. Remember, he was supposed to
yeah.
originally return with
Oh,
the boats.
really?
oh, yeah.
The reason I didn't tell you, but the reason he washed up on shore is because both fleets just burned, and he was the only one that floated away.
I love
Oops.
that.
So yeah, not all encounters have to end with everything dying. You can find like a different way to get out without necessarily running away,
Absolutely.
depending on the powers that you have.
Like
That
you were
makes it
saying
fun.
something about putting something to sleep and...
Yeah, because like you can put things to sleep rather than defeating them, and like either leave them somewhere and like maybe they can come back, or you can, like one of my parties did in a Pathfinder game, we put it in like this weird baby Bjorn body sleeping bag and just dragged it behind us. We had one character who was like a werebear, so he was just like constantly carrying it around because he was the strongest of all of us. I don't know, there's like you don't always have to kill a thing,
No,
but then like
but
shenanigans can happen.
The
when
most
you don't.
satisfying campaigns are when you defeat
Yes.
When
an
you
enemy.
defeat your greatest enemy, yes,
Like
of course.
when we defeated the undead worm,
Yeah! Oh my god, that thing was amazing.
because we were not powerful enough to fight an undead dragon, so it was
We got a worm thrown
we got
at
a
us.
worm instead. They're still big flying dragon-like creatures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They just only have 2 legs.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But
Do
this
little
one was
dance.
undead, so that was fun.
Uh-huh. No, it's really fulfilling, I think, to defeat an enemy that you like worked really hard to defeat, and you like had strategies in place, things like that. And that's what I mean about feeling accomplished
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
with all your enemies and your battles. I think it's chill.
So let us know if you have a favorite or a least favorite, either type of enemy or specific enemy. And tune in next time when we talk about something else.
Something
actually,
else?
for once, we actually know what we're going to talk about next time.
Secrets.
But you don't know.
Right?
So tune in next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Toodaloo.
Bye.